Three, two, one. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Mindful Leadership podcast with our incredible co-host, Natasha Rocha. Hello, Natasha.
Hi
I
everyone.
hope you're doing well. And also our special guest, Samantha Amit. Hello, Samantha. Welcome back.
Hi, John and Natasha.
Lovely to have you here again. Thanks for coming back. I feel like it's it's a good sign, right, that people come back. And it's my turn to read out your bio. So if you've not met Samantha, or perhaps you'd like a reminder, Samantha is a former global tech leader turned executive mindfulness leadership and team coach, working with managers, founders, and VPs across 40 plus countries. She integrates neuroscience, emotional resilience, and practical mindfulness to guide leaders out of overwhelm, frustration, and busyness into a way of leading marked by presence, confidence, and calm. She is the creator of Mindful Act ACT leadership model, a framework that supports leaders to achieve with awareness and connect with intention and thrive through systematic strategic influence. Samantha is also the co-author of Mindfulness at Work, the practice and science of mindfulness for leaders, coaches, and facilitators, and a certified teacher of mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, and that's since 2016. Wow. Her focus, her work focuses on growing leadership from the inside out, grounded in behavioral science, mindfulness, and neuroscience-based tools. Her approach creates measurable shifts in how leaders think, relate, and make decisions under pressure. Fun fact, Samantha is also a qualified reflexologist with studies in anatomy, physiology, and holistic health, a grounding influence in her leadership development work today. And we were having a little chat just before we got started on the recording today, and we'd love to touch on topics including and not exclusive to energy management and also self-love and self-care. So let's get started. Welcome, Samantha. Is there anything else you'd like to share a bit about yourself for people that haven't met you before?
Thanks, John. Wow, that sounded like a lot. And whenever I hear somebody else's bio being read out, yeah, I'm always very, pleasantly awed. So I just want to say hello to everybody out there today. I feel very honored to be here in your presence. It's just wonderful. Like, it's amazing how, yes, we are, across street screens, but you can actually feel somebody else's energy across the universe. So it's quite remarkable. And just anybody listening right now, really, whoever you spend your time with is really going to impact you. Yeah.
Absolutely. We talk about you're the sum of the five people that you hang out with, right? Which is so important to see how they actually shape, your life. And that absolutely brings us into that energetic frequency, whereas everything is energy and frequency. So it's, and how we are, I suppose, shaped by our environments. And yeah, I'd love to dive into the self-love aspect of it because it's so interesting in the sense that I think I grew up in the sense of kind of like saying, "Oh, the business doesn't have a heart." You just got to get there, do your work, and it's survival kind of a thing. And since then, I've learned that business is all heart. Business is, the baby. Business is your life, your career. Everything is focused around the heart, the love, the mind, all of it together. And we're being so conditioned to look at it from outside. What do you find with your clients? What are your suggestions in supporting people around self-love or the
Yeah.
aspect of love?
Yeah. So, Natasha, when I was in my 20s, I went to a lecture on love. And I was newly married, and I was sure that this lecture was going to give me like the best tools about, like being together, like how could I be, a better partner. And I went into this lecture. It was like at a kind of a health farm kind of place. And I sat there with my mouth open because the whole lecture was about loving yourself. And I'd actually never really thought about that much. And so when you talk about self-love, you know, we are so busy every day. We're so busy with all our different roles of being sometimes in a relationship, being, let's say, a daughter or a son, a brother or a sister, having a mother or a father, a work, having a business, or, you know, your different roles at work, being a team leader. And often we actually forget about ourselves. We're so busy everything out and we forget to come back to self, or come back in here. And so, yeah, I think that a big part of, you know, you know, feeling good, feeling comfortable within your skin is learning to come back within and, in your words, self-love. And so maybe we should, like, what is self-love?
I could give that a go.
Yeah.
I felt like that pause is like I'm thinking I'm meant to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in denial of it, and I must admit, even since I started talking about it, a lot of people ask me, "What do you mean? Like, what does self-love mean?" For me, self-love is finally, um, now I'm 48, beginning to realize that I'm a human. I have a body, right? And that it's not just about doing and caring and loving others. My life is also about learning to love myself. And with loving myself, I feel like there's so many aspects, like dimensions to love, trust, unconditional love. You know, no matter what I do today, I'll still love myself at the end of the day. No matter what I eat, drink, say, do, you know, all the mistakes I do or don't make. And some of the really hardest things, and if you ever wonder why I wear a lot of black, it's because I like to honor my shadows. I like to honor the darker aspects of me and wear it, literally wear my shadows. This is me, and I'm scared sometimes. You know, it's like and it is okay for me to learn to love these deeper, more shameful aspects of myself, what I consider to be shameful. And that for me, that journey, and it absolutely has been a really intense journey, especially over the last couple of years, has really just it's just expansive. Like I don't really feel a limit to love. Just like I love my dog, I love my family, my wife. That it's like there's no limit to that love. There's no limit to the dimensions of it. The learning to love myself no matter what has become this feeling. And then, of course, we're humans, so we like doing. And I feel that self-care is one of the ways in which is one of my acts of self-love that I can, you know, it's one of the key ways I'm learning to pay attention. Because for many years, especially latterly, 8 years at Amazon, I would wake up in the morning, go for a run, kind of have a bit of a shout at my body. It's like, just wake up. Like, stop being old and tired and exhausted. Get up, drink coffee, and get to work and start typing away. And that's, you know, I would never say that to a loved one. And so I'm learning, you know, to treat myself a lot better. It's definitely a journey. How
Mm.
about you guys? What's self-love for you?
Me, I feel it's like an ongoing journey, right? In the sense of rediscovering who you are and the limitations, right? And it's I used to be very, very judgmental of myself as well. Like I'd wake up in the middle. So being Sagittarian, and John and I share the same birthday, so we completely understand each other. We're birthday buddies, but I sometimes have foot and mouth disease, and it's never from a lack of it comes from a place of it's like it doesn't mean anything behind it besides what I said. And sometimes I would wake up in the middle of the night going, oh my goodness, what I said could have been interpreted as X, Y, and Z. And then that whole critical mind would come in, and then the overthinking and all the rest of that. And I didn't sleep. And I started getting to a stage where I thought, you know what? I used a lot of words of affirmation to kind of like reset my mind. But I also realized that we're also critical in self-judgment, realizing sometimes what those mistakes are or what we could do better. You can't change the past. So it's almost kind of like, I see it, I understand it. How am I going to change my behavior moving forward? But that act of radical self-acceptance, this is what it is almost kind of like, okay, this is me. How do I improve me? Kind of a thing. How do I love me more than enough to continue to do the journey with love and compassion? And it is quite deep in that sense, because it took a lot of practice, because those neural pathways were so ingrained to beat us up for that. And I started, and an example that I use all the time is like, when a plant is withering and dying, we feed it more, feed it less, we put it in a different environment, we give it more love, not less, in order to allow it to thrive. So those words that I wouldn't have said to my daughters or people that I love, it was the narrative that I was creating for myself. So I started looking at things from having a little bit more compassion, a little bit more understanding, and saying, okay, how do we start to respond? Where do I draw this line? And how do I respond in a different way moving forward, that is more supportive. So it's also the quality of love and compassion that we start to look at, in a sense, because I think for me, and this is still sometimes patterns that I fall into, where it's all giving from the external, and it's like, okay, if I love myself more than enough, would I say yes to X, Y, and Z? Because the other thing is, I have so much energy, I'm like, I want to do it all, and sometimes it doesn't, and then I'm like, oh my goodness, how am I going to do it all, kind of a thing. But it's looking at that space of self-reflection, self-acceptance, and self-care. How about you, Samantha?
Yeah, that's beautiful. So I'm a coach, and so I'm going to be coach-like and bring the common themes in. So Jon, you spoke about, how you used to speak to yourself in the morning as an example. And Natasha, you named, the inner critic. And I think that that's a common theme for everybody. And I started off, the podcast talking about not even understanding that you could love yourself and to think about loving yourself. And another thing that I never really knew existed was the voice in my head. And so, we call it the inner critic, but probably there are people that are listening in now that maybe haven't even thought about it. Hey, you have a voice in your head, and your voice in your head can be really not nice at times. And so I think that the first step in not even thinking about maybe love or loving yourself is actually getting to know yourself. And that's so important. And you named that, Jon, on the journey that you've been in, like getting to know your shadows, and you both spoke about acceptance. So I love it how the black represents something. For me, this green represents growth for me. And so I love colors as well. Colors can be very powerful. So acceptance. I also find, Natasha, people don't really understand, what does acceptance mean? Like if we can maybe get back to basics and really simplify things, like how is acceptance or self-acceptance even connected with self-love? And so I want to put that out there, but in a minute, but I want to go back and say, just start noticing that you have a voice in your head, and it can actually be the most interesting thing in the world, because imagine that you're going to a movie now, okay? You're going to the cinema. And I know today I get so surprised how everybody likes all this like dark stuff and action and all that. You have a much more interesting story in your head. If you stop and pause and start watching the story in your head, you'll be fascinated. Believe me, you can produce something better than Steven Spielberg.
That's true. I you know, talking about the self-acceptance, um one of my uh I think I do feel better now, but certainly when I was in my corporate job at Amazon in particular, I never I never accepted my superpowers, never accepted my strengths. And so that voice in my head was saying, "That's great, John, it's not enough." All day, every day, great, not enough. And I was like, okay, just keep going, keep doing, keep building, keep more products, better results, bigger teams, when's it going to be enough? And because I never even noticed that this was going on in my head, I never even questioned, when's it going to be enough? When is it, John? When are you going to stop and say, well done? And the toxicity that it bred within me was that other people that worked for me, what they did was never enough. And it didn't matter how nice I was to them, because I was still like similar, outwardly going. Maybe my energy has shifted quite a lot since I left, but I was still, known as happy, smiley John, empathetic, strong leader. But it didn't matter because I hadn't recognized my own superpowers and I was super productive. I could, yes, there's lots of things that I was always learning at, but I could connect with people very easily and I could achieve things, incredible things whenever I focused my mind on it. Single goal focused, incredible results, world leading stuff every time. I say that now. I didn't know that then, right? And so when others worked with me, I remember I used to look at other people and thinking, they're not enjoying themselves. They're not enjoying this work. They seem exhausted. They're not taking very good care of themselves. And that it never seems to go like it never stays level, right? It just gets worse. If you're not loving yourself, if you're not taking care of yourself, if and if no one's telling you, hey, you should intervening and saying maybe you should like, take care, reduce your hours, do something to look after yourself more. That is a trend often humans, we just get worse, right? Until eventually something happens, like our bodies say, stop it. That's enough. There's a mutiny from our body and say, that's enough. So I do feel that those patterns that I started to observe in myself, and really quite recently, it was the inner voice, as you say, Samantha, and then this realization that, in retrospect, when I look back at 26 years in software, I always gravitated towards people who are very much like both of you. You both come across as people that are happy and healthy, right? It's a really simple thing, right? It's just like, how are you happy and healthy? Tell me, what's your secret? And there's this feeling in your energy that actually you do care for yourself, and that it's a discipline and it's a practice, just like our relationships and marriages in our lives are. They take a lot of effort and a lot of nurturing and growth. And for all those times that I didn't give a promotion to someone or didn't give an opportunity to someone and chose someone else, it was often based on that. It was often based on, do I think they're just trying too hard and exhausting themselves? Will they just break as soon as I give them this opportunity? Or are they actually excelling and they're saying, and they might even reject it. They might even say, that's too much. I'm not doing that. What I'm doing right now is enough. And I'm like, whoa. So those were definitely experiences that have totally now shifted my mindset towards business. Um, so sorry, that's a lot, trying to answer a lot at the same time. Um, how about you guys on your experiences of, those growth areas of your inner voice and that shifts to becoming like to start to acknowledging, because as you say, Samantha, there's such huge negative self doubt we can generate, all that darkness inside of us. Um, you know, what have been the turning points in your lives to help with that acceptance and feeling into those changes that it creates?
I can tell a story from a client from yesterday. So she's brilliant. She has a team of 8. She's a creator and in a software company, single mom. And so being a single mom, she has a lot of pressure. She actually lost her husband about 10 years ago. And it's not easy. You know, she has 2 girls, and it's not easy being a single mom. And so she has a lot of pressure to keep her job, and she's a perfectionist. And so being a perfectionist, she keeps doubting herself, like, is this enough? And so she does more. And so she's spinning plates. And so I told her yesterday the story of Mara. Do you know the story of Mara? So,
Not familiar.
okay, so in the Buddhist tradition, there's a story around Mara, that Mara is basically the shadow. Mara is your inner critic. Mara is the negativity, the darkness that comes your way. And so there's a story, I'm not sure if it was the Buddha or one of the monks meditating. And when you meditate and you sit quietly, you're able to watch the voice in your head. And so the Buddha's sitting, and then in comes self-doubt. Very normal. We all experience self-doubt. It's not something personal to you, Jon, or you, Natasha, or to me, or anybody listening. Self-doubt, it's a universal. And so the Buddha is sitting, and self-doubt comes in. You're not good enough. And so the Buddha says, I see you, Mara. I see you. And what does that mean, I see you? So when we're talking about mindfulness or consciousness, it's a big part of it is about waking up. So listening for that self-doubt, because when you listen to it, it can get dissolved. When you listen and notice, the voice, you're not good enough, or you're going to fail, or how could you speak like that to your daughter? Or, we don't see that because we're so busy doing. We're so busy getting the next thing done. So when the Buddha said, I see you, Mara, Mara disappeared. And so a big gift for us is actually when we do pause and wake up and create space in our day to see, to see everything. Also the beauty, also like what you described, Jon, to see even, wow, I've actually done a great job here. Wow, I actually, listened to my daughter when she came back from school instead of asking her to do something. Wow, I actually managed to delegate to my direct report and not tell him or her what to do, but actually ask him, how's it going? Like, how are you doing with this task? And so just like breathing and taking that time to see. And that when, as an example, somebody comes to you and says something, something's not working for me, then you can create space for it. And just allowing space for Mara to be around. It's okay. I see you, Mara. And so that dissolves the shadow. Yeah.
Quite interesting. I've started, I have more than one voice in my head sometimes. I'm just going to say that. Between my ego, my inner critic, sometimes my guides, the Akashics, but yeah, no, it's true. So my Mara, I get curious around her. So I step into observation and have a look at that. It's a skill that I've developed, which was a very big turning point for me in the sense of, why are you scared? Where is it stem from? Like what, like try and get to kind of like really the root of it. And I step into that, what am I making this mean? Like it helps me with, and I do spend some time in kind of like what I call introspection or observation when this does come up, because for me, it's really about getting to the root of it. Like, where is it? Even if it's up to this intergenerational conditioning, these behaviors, and it's trying to get curious around that without being criticizing. And that has taken me a while, because how automatic is to criticize, right? And it's like you say, but I start to I see Mara and I'm like, okay, why are you here? Why are you scared? Why can't we do this? What are we making this like actually mean? And then usually take her by the hand and say, let's go, let come with me, is usually how I respond to those kind of, and sometimes it takes me a couple of days in that, because I start to try and see, where does this pattern come from, or where is the limitation, which is, I don't know, I find quite interesting, because a lot of the times it is rooted in conditioning.
That's wonderful. And it reminds me, is this a proverb or some story where there's the two wolves you can feed. There's like the wolf inside of you
Mm,
that's the fear, like the dark wolf, or the lighter one, the one that's love. And what maybe many of us forget about those shadow aspects is that our reaction to them
mm,
are unpredictable. Like if you're scared of something, you're like, oh, I'm scared of going in the woods. I'll just take the long way around. I'll drive. I'll stay inside. And you just make up like there's millions of excuses not to
mm,
face the fear. And all the time it's like, hello, there's a fear here. And you're like, but that's silly. I mean, I'm not, why would I tell anyone that I'm scared of going in the woods? And there's this really strange experience that I had in my life, which was little things like that became huge obstacles and I would describe it as like anxiety, and yes, some of it's connected to past lives, and as you say, Natasha, actually there's multi level both in this personality and
mm,
this life and other lives. There's multi dimensions to that fear. There's a good reason why it's there. But it's almost like that. If we asked that question early on about self love, if you don't choose to love yourself, what do you choose? Because
mm.
by default, lightly, as a fellow human, you're going to be in there just with negative
Yeah.
self talk. And you're going to be filling your day with, like, that's not enough. They're better than you. Why can't you be more like them? You're doubting yourself. And it's this really, like a Jacob's ladder, like downward spiral. And a client asked me yesterday, they said, I was saying, oh, since I started my business in May 31st last year, 2024, in particular, since November last year, it's just taken off. It's beyond my wildest dreams. And they said, what is your secret? And I was like, God, no one's ever asked that yet. And I just said, I gave some other things first about how my vision feels next 3 years, how I balance my work and my personal life, a small selection of the customer problems I chose to solve. But really, what is really the key to that success? It's my self-love and self-care approach to my work. And the reason I feel it works is because I turn up at like this, right? Not exhausted, right? That first of all, I'm not in that negative self-thought. Oh, one of my shadows is that I say and a lot. And now I'm like, now I just laugh about it. And so do my family at me about it a lot as well. And I love that. I love that, there's this very human, unrehearsed, unedited. If I started editing out those ums and ahs, we'd be here all day, right? So um, uh, um, uh. So this journey of self-love has been like, oh, if I cultivate my own happiness, if instead of chasing things outside of me, instead of chasing a promotion, a job title, a house, a car, if I chase something inside of me, which is my joy, it actually feels much safer. On that journey of self-love, I feel like, oh, I'm just gonna do things that I love doing. And
Mm,
yesterday I had an example of saying I said no to myself to I was tired. I was about to create I have like a prediction series of videos on YouTube, and they've been doing extremely well, and I felt pressure to create one. And it's like my body's like, are you seriously, John, gonna turn up and say, hi, it's Jon Binnie, I'm living my dream life? Like literally just tired and exhausted. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And so I just sat down for 45 minutes and did nothing. And until my next client session, I felt, oh, that feels good. And then without condition, by lunchtime, and my dog Patch is due a walk, went out in the woods, which I love doing, and I was talking to trees and hugging them and sharing some of the experiences of the woods here in Scotland, and it was just this beautiful magical experience. And of course, when I feel that magic inside of me, and I'm like this little kid wandering around the forest, and those videos just do so much better because I just love it, and something did twig in me in the last year where I started to follow other people. And it's a tip, right? Follow other people on social media who are often completely out of your comfort zone or interests. You know, I follow a geologist, uh, uh, a neuroscientist, the people that just the totally different hobbies, but they're so passionate about what they do. They're like little
Mm.
kids, like I could see another rock, come and see the rock, and that in me reminds me that it doesn't matter what my superpower is or my passion, if it fills me full of joy, then chasing that really fuels all the other things. And I do feel it attracts, well, I know it does. For me, it attracts hundreds of clients booking me for months on end when they feel that energy, they feel that authentic joy with us, right? Instead of like, I'm too scared to go in the woods, which was me a few months ago.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I've also felt your love. I felt your joy in your videos that I've watched.
Thank you.
Yeah, you were speaking a lot about, cultivating joy and cultivating self-love, and you were speaking, Natasha, about curiosity, and it's all a choice. So from moment to moment, we choose, and that's an important thing to remember because we can choose how we show up. And if we don't know how to cultivate curiosity and we don't know how to cultivate joy, we can learn because everything we can learn. And and a lot of it requires patience. So if we go back to mindfulness, because we are on this Mindful Leadership podcast, we've named a lot of attitudes that we cultivate through mindfulness. So one of them is curiosity. We call it beginner's mind. We've spoken about acceptance. One of the ways that I want to just describe acceptance is not fighting. And so a lot of the time we are resisting things at work, for example, or there's like this inner struggle within. If you slow down and just stop for 5 minutes to pause, you're going to notice what's going on. You're going to notice what's going on in your body and how your body feels. Like, does your body feel comfortable? Or does it feel tense? And is it contracted or is it open? If your body is open and it feels, it feels like soft, open, not contracted, then usually your mind is also open and curious. If you are judgmental and your mind is just like going like this, chances are your body is a bit tense too.
Mm.
So if you stop and pause and just become curious around like, hey, what's going on with me? Then you can change everything just by bringing, and that, by the way, that's self-love, because just coming in and saying, like, let me just check what's going on with me, like what's going on in my mind. And if you stop and you get silent for a minute or two, you're going to see the thoughts. And just breathe and just become like, okay, like what's going on with me? That's how you cultivate curiosity. And then if you notice, oh, how am I thinking that? Why am I insecure? Why? Don't judge what you're seeing. Just say, oh, that's what it is. And then I always say, like, I'm doing the best I can. And what do I want? What do I want to become? So that way, I work with leaders in like over 40 countries, and a big part of the work I do is shifting their identity. So shifting from being in the weeds and firefighting and getting everything right to being more of a strategic leader. And for that, you need to like zoom out and like look around and say, what's going on? And for that, we need to pause. We need to lean back. If you are a leader and you have a team, you need space to notice what's going on, with your people, but start with yourself. And if you don't like what you see, then choose, okay, what do I want this morning? How do I want to wake up? How do I want my morning to look? And maybe it's like you, Jon, going for a run, going into the wilderness, going into a park that's near you, because nature is one of the best ways for you to become present. It's one of the best ways for you to heal. If you're feeling jittery or you're feeling overwhelmed, just go hug a tree. It's going to shift your energy.
That's wonderful. Natasha, you said on Monday, we were doing a live stream together, right? And you said you were talking to a client as you were doing readings for people, and one thing you said is if someone's talking and they're not listening, then be silent. You said something along those lines, and it really, really stuck with me. Maybe it's like a kind of positive, inspirational, like triggered like event that it's a spark in my head. It's like, that's so true. And the the it was also my meditation today, Samantha, as you were talking about videos. Thank you for your kind comments. Is this creating space? And I was like, wow, in those moments, because creating space, it reminds me of, imagine if you imprison your body, you put your body in a dungeon, like this kind of metaphorical dungeon. And that's what I used to do. I used to spend 8 hours in meetings in a day, just back to back. And I literally like wheel my body out of and shut up, like, and wait till the end of this meeting. And then I just in the brief second in between meetings, I'd say, right, what do you need? You're like, I need the toilet. Okay, like quick to the toilet. And then it'd be like right back, like, and get back to work.
Yeah.
And then things have shifted so much now in my life where I just feel like actually, stretching that space out. It's like
Yes.
you don't need to be in a dungeon body. You could be while the mind's busy, you could be in a park in nature, right? And I'm gonna come and I'm gonna serve you.
Yes.
You're my
Yes.
partner.
Yeah.
And I now ask my body constantly. So one really simple tip is after every task, including this recording today, I'll just go and ask my body. I'll just say, all right, what do you want? What do you need? What do you need to feel happy right now? And you know that you touched on it, Samantha, about it's so much easier to externalize love. Like we culturally we find it so easy. We're like, I'll just love something else instead of me. Like at very least try and treat your body like that because it's living and breathing. It's a real sentient being, and you can hug it as well. And and actually looking after your body is a huge start, right? It's a big start of that physical part of the journey. Um, how about you, Natasha? How's your journey been with your body?
Yeah, actually, my body's going through a change at the moment. But one thing that is quite interesting, and that's my thing, my ums and ahs at the moment, I go through phases. So one thing that's interesting at the moment is the first thing that goes when we're not loving ourselves is our self-care,
Mhm.
which is so interesting because we put it to the side because it's us, right? And one of the things that I say is place your self-care into your calendar as if it was a client, because you wouldn't move a client, whereas you'll move yourself. But what I'm doing as well is noticing that I feel better when I do wake up early and I do go for a walk, and I am absolutely in nature as well. I've also got two crazy dogs. So that helps me in getting out, and their energy and excitement is contagious, which is brilliant. The same with people, but I do start to notice that if I'm not eating properly, what am I reading? What am I watching? What am I doing? It absolutely, completely affects me. And I'm one of these people that choose happiness every day. I choose to wake up happy. And you're right, happiness is a choice. one of the first things that I do is I wake up and I smile and I give gratitude for being here and all the my body and everything else and my bed, and it kind of like moves on from that. Well, one of the questions that I ask the universe is, what magic and miracles will show up for me today? And then I sit in observation and acceptance of that, and then I allow that day to move on. But it was actually quite overwhelming when I didn't structure my day and started moving into those, what would bring me joy. Like, I was like, I have 2 hours to kill, I could go for a walk, I could go do this, but it is what would bring me the most amount of joy in this moment. And I also started realizing that if we don't take those breaks, that recharging of our batteries, it's like, for me, it's like putting petrol in a car, right? You either fill up the tank, or if you don't fill up the tank, you run on empty, you're going to stop. Or if you put in small increments, it allows you to keep moving, but you're going to have to constantly stop. So it's do whatever you do 100%, whether it's feelings, whatever it is. And I try go into that quite a bit, in that let's see through it 100%. But I have a habit of overscheduling, and I'm changing that because I get so excited about so many things as well. So for me, and you've been a great inspiration, Jon, in the sense of like,
Oh,
no, I'm doing my 2 hours, and those beautiful boundaries of I'm working 3 days a week, and I'm like, I'm getting to that, because I used to love doing full day hikes, and I'm like, Fridays is my day, which is important. And the other thing is that when we do what we love, I don't see my work, my spirituality, my play is all intertwined. It's where do we have to become more conscious of what's happening in the body as well, and what's depleting. But it's saying no, or shifting certain things, which is quite important. So I don't know, I said quite a lot there. I don't know if I answered your question, Jon, but yeah,
that's
no, it's
wonderful. Yeah,
fantastic.
I was gonna ask Samantha, give an example of how I manifest my self-love in day to day. And so what I do is I have it actually came from mentoring clients, business mentoring. And this, which totally surprised me that this is where this would come from. And I was having this conversation with a client, and they were saying, "Oh, I just, I can't create space in my calendar because then I won't be able to earn enough money." And I found that suddenly I'd realized that that's not true. That it's actually, for me anyway, that it's self-love that actually creates money and abundance in my life. And so I said, well, and I'd already been putting in the building blocks of this. And so the short story is, and now I call it my weekly kind of dream template, my dream schedule. And so I created it, and it says Monday off except for a live stream. That's fixed. But I can do whatever I want on a Monday. So it could just be fun, resting and receiving. So it actually says rest, receive, joy, or I could be developing a training course or something work related. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they're slightly longer days, uh, working days. They're about this session start from 10 and finish about 6 or 6:30 p.m. Friday off, nothing on a Friday, nothing work related. Saturday, Sunday off. And and then you kind of do the maths, right? There's a very human thing. You're like, so if I did this many sessions in that time and charge this rate and how much money I would earn, it's like, whoa, that's still a lot of money. And then it's like, but is why am I doing all this? And I realized what was happening was that I'd already achieved so much of this. I'd already achieved huge amounts. I'd already been taking Friday, Saturday, Sundays off for months, maybe over a year. This is me running my own business, starting my own business from scratch. And I realized that it's those moments, it's the happiness and the joy, the energy of doing that that means the minute that I turn up to do a video, hi, it's Jon video in the morning, and my running videos now with a night vision camera, or my song in the morning, or every time I show up, I'm just really happy and I'm really loving what I'm doing. And I realized that that weekly schedule, so what I did with my client was I just said, here's my dream schedule. And it has it's kind of color coded for things that move, things are fixed. And the green, the vast majority is green, which is rest, receive, and joy. And I said, try and like rework yours. And I said, suspend belief you could do it overnight. just draw like what you feel the most perfect balance would be for you. And just like me, it took them just about 2 to 2.5 months to transition to it. And it's so simple the way you do it. Every time someone comes to you and says, "Hey, John, could you join us on a podcast?" Or could I get a client says, "Can I have a session at that time?" You just bring it up. You look at your dream schedule and say, "Does it fit within that?" No. Right. Well, I'm about to say no. And then you think, well, just to double check, would I change anything about my dream schedule that would make it better for me and my clients? Like, most time it's a no. And then sometimes, like, in the case of the Monday live streams, that was a chat with my wife and family, and they're like, "But it's a lovely way of giving back for free to people. Wouldn't it be lovely if you could do that? We'd be happy to support you if you could." And I was like, "Oh, well, seeing as you guys are saying, maybe I should." And so this was a really interesting way of just negotiating every single thing. And sometimes I'll also ask my body and look at it and go, I remember recently on a Tuesday, I had spread apart sessions. And I said to my body, "How do you feel about that?" Because it's like, it's a long working day with like these kind of gaps in between. And my body was like, "It's a working day. So just do work during that time. And if as long as you're always on for that time, we're fine. But if you're kind of like pretending that you're coming in and out of work, that's
Mm.
harder. Maybe you should have like, if you want that, just take the afternoon off or the morning off." And it's like, this is a totally new way of working. And I was interested, Samantha, if you've done anything like that with yourself or your clients.
So absolutely, we've spoken a bit about structure here and putting into your day and your structure things that serve you and promote joy or promote happiness or look after your body or whatever those choices are. And previously, you spoke about being in meetings all the time. And so I work predominantly with people that are in tech. And they are in back-to-back meetings. And when you're in back-to-back meetings, you don't have time for self-love. You don't have time for cultivating joy. You're very much like on, like it's a fast pace. And so one of the things I'm quite strict about is creating buffers between meetings. And so at least minimum of 5 minutes at a minimum, but ideally 15 minutes to even longer. And then I have practices of what I do, with the leaders in those buffers. What do they do before? And as you said, John, context switching. You spoke about, okay, if I've committed to work, that's a work block. We still need to, like, because we were talking about self-love and we're talking about managing our energy, because if we don't manage our energy, we actually lost. We lost, we get depleted, and it's not good for us, it's not good for the people that we're with. And so a big part of having buffers and having space, I'm going back to space, is checking in, and if we need to recharge, we need to recharge in that buffer space. So simple example is your phone. I mean, we all use our phones today. I mean, if our phone went dead or even is low on battery, we get nervous because we know, oh, we've got to call like now. I know I'm on the podcast, so I actually have like my phone's charging just in case. I'm thinking of everything just in case. I mean, if there's an electrical failure, then at least I can go onto my phone, right? So, like we care about like our phones and that our phones are charged if we need to use them, we need to care about coming back to the body, that our bodies have enough fuel. And so it starts with our choices, what we put into our mouth, how much energy we put out there. Are we like stopping and checking in, like what's going on in here? And so structure of, if you have the option to choose what your week looks like, that's fantastic. But some people don't have that much choice and they do work 5 days a week and they do work long hours. Then at least what is in your control is, like creating a boundary and saying, look, I've got another meeting afterwards. So I'm going to have a hard stop 10 minutes before. And so that's really important. Another example also is you spoke about Jon saying no, like this is my dream schedule, or like I can check that and say no. So Sarah, who's the single mom who was spinning plates and, just, she was overwhelmed from everything. I said to her, Sarah, do you ever say no to people? And the reason she doesn't say no is because she believes she can do everything and she's good at everything and she loves everything she does. It doesn't mean that because she loves it and she's good at it, she's going to take it on. So I asked her for this week not to say no, but just to actually, when somebody asks her to do something, stop and go and check her schedule. Maybe it's not a dream schedule, but it's a schedule, and say, okay, like, is this feasible for me to say yes? So just, check and say, okay, let me get back to you. Let me look and see if I can do this and get back to you. You don't need to say no, but at least, like, so it's all the same thing, creating space to look, to check, to become curious. What's going on here? What's my schedule like? Do I have the capacity? Because joy cannot be there, and happiness is hard to cultivate when the energy is like boom, 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 boom. It's not sustainable.
So true.
Yeah, it's actually quite interesting in the sense that I've taken on a new marketing company because my business is shifting. And I've started making a conscious choice. And again, it's pulling in people that are in aligned. And every meeting, I say, okay, let's do a quick meditation and let's connect into the Akashic records of my business. And we do take those 5 minutes. And the other day we had a meeting, and I've got a meeting straight after this. And the meeting that I was having, they were like, okay, are we going to do the meditation then? And I was like, yes, we are going to do the meditation. Because they're like, this just streamlines everything for the whole session, and the productivity just increases. Those 5 minutes that they entertain, and now it's become a process that I think I will continue, because it brings everybody into that, from being out here and hectic and things are moving, to kind of like grounded it into the heart space, and working from a place of when we can still get excited, but it just absolutely grounds and sets the intention for that meeting. And it's amazing how much more productive it is, even by entertaining that little bit of my spiritual, I don't know, way of doing things, because it does just bring it in, and it just aligns. And I find that to be quite effective as well.
Wonderful.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. I never thought it would take on, and I was like, just entertain my crazy, it's okay. And then it was like, okay, we're meditating today. I was like, yes, we are. Let's get this meeting started. And I think that's how I'm going to start all of my meetings. Whether I do it before or if it's working for the business and aligning it is what I do.
Fantastic. I've also noticed how, I meditate in every coaching session that I have. And I've actually got like a group now, that what we're doing is we're moving from being in the weeds and firefighting to being, those strategic leaders. And so we meditate in every session, but I don't call it meditation. I call it, or for them, I call it more like an inquiry. So some people, when they hear the word meditation, they get scared. So we call it like an inquiry, like, let's like check what's going on right now, And so through the inquiry, like when I'm guiding it, I can guide them into any space of where we want the focus to be. And yeah, so absolutely so what I wanted to say actually is that I'm finding that people are much more open to it now.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
We were talking about that. There's so many people that are awakened, but are still in the closet in stepping out into the spirituality. And it's, Yeah, I absolutely love having those conversations
Yeah.
where we're like, it's okay. And, and I find that to be an amazing thing, to be authentically ourselves, because that is the fear. If I'll be authentically me, they're going to see the crazy within me, and I'm going to be rejected. And usually I've become okay with that, because then they aren't my people. And that's okay. And it's like, with love and compassion, saying, okay, but you start to align with those that are the same frequency. But I love setting the intention for a
Yeah.
meeting every time is brilliant.
Can I say something else? One of my purposes is, or probably the purpose in my life is to help people create light.
Mhm.
And why that's important is that a lot of us have so many concerns about what's going on in our countries, in the world, in the climate and everything. And yet, we can't always influence or do something about it. What you always have the opportunity is to choose how you show up. And if you create more light in the universe, you're going to create more light. And so that's going to eliminate the darkness. So even if somebody's on a different frequency to you and you bring your beautiful frequency, you can help shift their frequency.
Mhm.
And so I think we need to always remember that. And in order to be that, in order to bring that light, in order to be able to shift others, if somebody's fighting and you come in with light and without resistance and you just accept them and you know it's their stuff,
Yeah.
it's got nothing to do with me.
Mhm.
You're going to shift what's going on for them because it's not fight meets fight. And so I think that's radical. That's also radical
Mhm.
acceptance. That's radical love. And it starts with me.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then that's so powerful. I don't know if you saw my video this morning of me running with my night vision camera, and it was that message about being the light in the dark, and that we're surrounded by this darkness all the time. And I was in many meetings where there would be like questionable discussions and decisions going on. And I remember just feeling uncomfortable with it. And then I started to realize that these aren't voices going on inside of me. These are other people using their free will to make their own decisions. And in many respects, what we see around us in the world are other people that we've delegated stuff to, right? We said, oh, could you run my government? Could you run my electricity system, my water system? Could you guys do this? And then we ignore them. We still pay them, but we ignore them. And then we get annoyed when they don't do the things that we feel right. And yet we will never fight our way to leading by example, but we can always be the light in that situation. We can always be the ones. We don't even need to agree with what other people are saying or doing around us. We say, "Well, I'm
Yeah.
going to take my time to reflect on that," or "I,
Yeah.
this is I will bring love to this discussion, not just confront everyone all the time and bash heads, which is easy to do."
And
I
even,
usually,
sorry.
I usually ask myself, how can I approach this consciously, or from even a place of love?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're coming
Right.
back to that intention, the choice, and yeah, if somebody doesn't relate to the word self-love, then maybe just, choosing, being more awake in the moment, and maybe just listening.
Mhm.
Listening, yeah, trying to understand myself, trying to understand the other can be very, very interesting.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. Well, speaking of creating space and listening, we will do a meditation shortly. It's my turn. Before I send you all to sleep with my ums and ahs and my monotone voice, which is perfect for meditation, I would like to just ask Samantha, how do people get in touch with you if they want to work with you?
Thanks, John. So my website is askyourcoach.com. Ask-coach.com. And you can find me, Samantha Amit, on YouTube, and you can find me on LinkedIn. Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic. And I'll make sure I put those somewhere if I'm pointing downwards to, if I'm at the bottom of the screen, towards the description. I'll make sure that that's put into the video as well.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
please do check out Samantha's incredible work. Great. Well, with that, I will get us started on a meditation. So let's all take a deep breath in through the nose and breathe out through the mouth nice and loud. And we'll take another deep breath in through the nose, nice and deep. And breathing out any fear, shame, anxiety, or pain, nice and loud. And once more, breathe in through the nose, nice and deep. And breathe out any remaining low vibration energy, emotions that no longer serve you, nice and loud. And please bring your attention, your conscious awareness to your heart. Perhaps you'd like to place your hand on your heart if you choose to. I'd like you to feel your heart. We're going to begin to ask more questions of our hearts and our body in this space. But for now, let's simply feel, perhaps feeling the most dominant emotion that's going on right now in your heart. For some of us, that color, sounds, frequency, vibration, even smell or visual of that emotion, every dimension of it, just allow it to simply be. And expand your awareness out across your whole body now, to the top of your head, to the tip of your toes, to the base of your spine, and out to your fingertips, allowing all of your body to answer the question of how your body's feeling right now. And across all dimensions of that answer, just allow the space to receive. And what's so beautiful about our hearts, our human hearts create these huge energy, these auric fields, this big toroidal field around our bodies. So bring your awareness now to your whole aura. So a space, a large sphere expanding out from the center of your heart around your whole body, about 2 meters out from the center of your heart. And at very least in this safe space, within this boundary space, within 2 meters of you, you get to choose what's in here. You get to choose what from the outside world you allow in, the energy, the emotion of it, what you watch on TV, who you connect with, you talk to, what's on your phone. And this outside world is chaotic, and it's constantly bombarding us with influences and directions. All that really matters for you right now in this space, in the safe space you've created, is you, your body, your heart. And let's bring our awareness also from the center of our hearts down through the root of our spine and imagine us connecting deep into the earth. Without the earth, we would float and become quickly disorientated. And with the earth, we are grounded and strong and resilient. And we can bend and sway with any storm that's happening outside of us, outside of our boundaries. Perhaps you'll allow now your schedule for today, for your week, to come into your awareness, into your conscious mind now. And as you bring that schedule, a visual of it, it doesn't need to be accurate, just the feelings of it, most importantly. Maybe bring awareness to your calendar and its spaces in between each task, the number of tasks, and observe that feeling in your heart when you first bring that schedule into your awareness. Does it tighten your heart chakra with fear? Do you tense up? Does your breathing become shallower? Or are you still relaxed? Are you neutral? Or maybe you're even more excited. You're remembering all the exciting things, not just in work, but in the rest of your life, and your passions and joy, the very things that fuel you. And I'd like you to join me in repeating, at very least in your head, some affirmations to support you, your mind, your body at this time. And please repeat after me. Heart, it's safe to open. Heart, it's safe to open. Heart, it's safe to open. Mind, I am calm. Mind, I am connected with my heart. Mind, I am doing the very best I can at every moment. Mind, I am enough. Mind, I am always enough. And imagine now your mind connecting with a stream of light and consciousness all the way down to the center of your head and neck and throat, and then down into your heart. And your mind and heart connected together, including all of the other aspects of your body and your conscious awareness. You can also take a look at that schedule that you brought in front of you now and ask some questions to your body and heart. Body, what do I need today for my highest good? What do I need to move, to delegate, to shift to tomorrow, or to say no to? Body, how much water do I need to drink next? Body, how much food do I need? Body, how much sleep do I need? Body, how much time and energy will I spend today doing the things that I love, not just resting because I'm exhausted, but resting in the joy? Will it be time with my family, friends, loved ones, pets, time in nature? And imagine you're a bit like a child now, maybe when you're age 5, and you were laughing at the schedule that you'd created, and you started scribbling it all out, and you pushed it to the side and said, that schedule, that's for grown-ups. And you allowed your child, the child of you today, your inner child, to create your perfect day. What would you really be doing? Music, art, dancing, singing, climbing, exploring a new hobby, trying something new. What were the things you used to do as a child? Perhaps you could give at least 10 minutes today or a minute more each day something that helps fuel your inner child. Allow your inner child to just draw that and sketch that, even over the top of your schedule, if you like, make a bit of a mess. And then feel this path ahead of you for all on a life path. And really, it's our bodies and our hearts in control, no matter how much our busy minds try and convince ourselves that our minds are driving ourselves to our lives. Because on our deathbeds, it's not the tasks that we chose to do, it's not the meetings that we did or didn't do, the results we did or didn't achieve. We remember what's important in our hearts, our loved ones, our love for ourselves, and see that path ahead of you begin to form, that journey ahead of you, stretching out into the distance. It's a path not with the stuff you bought, the results you got, the numbers. It's not even the numbers in your bank account or your job title. It's the feelings inside, the happiness and joy that lies ahead of you that excites you the most. And yes, all these other things do play a part. And they're simply ways of you beginning to reflect your own love back to yourself. So why not go straight to your heart and ask your heart and body each day, what is it I can do to show you that I love you more and more each day? Please consider practicing this each day, asking this question when you look at your calendar, when you're looking at your meetings, when you're looking to yourself inside of you, when you're asked to take on more work, more opportunities, or when you're simply feeling into the more joyful experiences you seek in this now present moment. Because every present moment is a new opportunity to explore your self love and to demonstrate this through the action of your own self care. And with this, please come back to your body. And yes, I know I left your schedule intentionally in a bit of a mess. Perhaps you'll look back at it now with the eyes of your heart and allow your heart and body to help answer what action you'll take. And just come back to your breath and body now. And you can open your eyes if you choose to. Thank you.
Thank you. It's such a treat to receive these meditations. It's
Likewise.
awesome. Thank you.
And thank you. Thank you, Samantha. Thank you, Natasha, for all your beautiful input into, I felt I had so much to cover in that meditation, and just even to feel a little tip of the iceberg at doing a little bit of the incredible work you both do. Justice. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Well, thank you again, Samantha, for joining us. And yes, please do everyone check out the links in Samantha's website and which Ask Your Coach, and also your YouTube channel and on LinkedIn. And we'd love to have you on again. I'm sure, Samantha, it's always a pleasure to see you. And any final words before we close today?
Yeah, I just want to wish everybody to take care and be nice to yourself. Pay attention to the voice in your head, pay attention to what's going on in your body. And in the moment, ask yourself, what do I need right now?
Wonderful. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing your words of wisdom and all these beautiful practices. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We'll be back again soon. Take care. Sending love.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.